Oh, that'll make the bloopers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
did she
realized by
sound
my
like Did she sound like Cujo? Like, did you hear her on the recording?
I did. That was pretty wild. That was
She sounded like Cujo. Ma'am, that is not how you introduce yourself to the neighborhood.
Cujo.
Anyway,
Yeah, about
so I'll
that.
get back to this. Let's put this part in. 3, 2, 1, clap. So one of the big things that I've always realized that I have a affinity for is very large first basemen. And I'll explain. So like I grew up with Jim Thome, big stocky dude. Then it was like the Guardians had Mike Napoli during like the 2016 run, so party at Napoli's. And then Josh Naylor. I love Josh Naylor. And then the Dolans were like, get him out of town. He's gone. We're trading him for, Slade. Can't say Slade's last name. Do you remember that dude? Yeah, I don't know if he was a prospect or something. We got it from the Diamonds. Cicerone. It's like Paisan, my
Oh
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Cicerone, something like that. Like he's,
Not panning
big
out.
Paisan. But anyway, no, he's fine. He's pitching
Oh,
fine. He's all right. But anyway, folks, welcome to the Stadium Seeds main event today.
yeah.
I'm DJ. That's Ralph over there, and we've parent trapped or we've Freaky Friday
We,
this
do
right
you know they're
now.
making a sequel to that?
I saw the preview to that. It looks
Yeah. I took my kids
really
to
funny.
see. Yeah, I took my kids to see Lilo and Stitch last week. They were driving
I
my
saw it
wife.
last week too. Wasn't it fantastic?
I thought so. There were a lot of people throwing a huge fit about them changing the ending, and I'm like, what was wrong with that? Like that.
It wasn't much different. It wasn't
I
much
mean,
different.
there was some things in there, like with the professor being the bad guy, and
Yeah.
um, the recasting, and having Zach Galifianakis as him, and it's like
I still
kind
got
of
Misty. I still got Misty at the end. I got Misty at the end.
it just
I'm man enough to say that.
and the whole thing too is there are these people carrying on about the fundamental problems of the foster system, and it's like, yeah, we
Yeah.
know that, like, but this is a movie, and there was nothing, and it was Tia Carrere was the playing the child services, the
She was
social
the
worker.
original Nani, right? Or
She was,
no
yeah.
me. No, what
Nani,
what was the
Nani,
real
yeah.
name? I can't. Nani. Okay.
So but it's like they're trying to pan her out as a villain. I'm like, look, she's got a tough job, and it was a very
Hmm.
difficult situation. Like, the story is really tragic. You've got this family that the parents die in a car crash. I don't really think
I don't like that they didn't touch on that in the
they
live action movie all
they
that
didn't
much.
really
They
touch
didn't
on it.
touch on it at all, actually.
No, I mean, they said they died and referenced, but they didn't say why. But you assume it's the same. And you've got the a teenager basically having to sacrifice their post like high school dreams to raise their 5 6 year old sister, and
Hmm.
it's tough, and living in Hawaii is not cheap. And then you got the
Oh
social
yeah.
worker checking in, and the child is rambunctious, and that kid was great who played Lilo. That kid was really, really good, I
Yeah,
thought.
good chops. I noticed
Yeah.
that for the kid. I'm like, this isn't going to be the last we're going to see of you, I think.
Even the girl playing Nani was really good too. I thought they were both very, very good. It was
Did you put two and two together? Because I watched kind of a crossover of the live action and the cartoon one. And she said something about the crossover between Moana and Lilo and Stitch, I think, right? Because Maui's in Moana too, right? That's the Rock's character.
I haven't seen it. My kids
Okay.
have watched it a million times. I have not seen it.
So basically, what they were saying was in the cartoon one, they talk about mom and dad getting in the car accident and passing away.
Mm.
She's feeding Pudge, the fish, the sandwiches because Pudge controls the weather.
Oh
But then there
yes.
was some loose connection between Pudge and Maui,
Yep.
um, because Maui went to the bottom of the ocean and pulled the island of Hawaii up
Hmm.
and made its thing. There's a weird. It's really good TikTok. Hopefully, like the algorithm as you listen to this, because they're all listening to us. Hopefully, the
This
algorithm
wasn't on
springs
the
up to you.
yeah, this wasn't on the outline of what we were
That's
going to talk
fine.
about today. But that's what happens. Every show I've ever done, anytime this happens.
Yeah. Let's talk about whatever here.
Yes,
We're here.
welcome to our mid-year review, by the way. Yeah, we
DJ, your mid-year review was fantastic. Let's continue talking about Disney movies.
yes.
You were satisfactory.
All right. So we did see that they're Freakier Friday. They're making a sequel to that.
Live action How to Train Your Dragon's coming up.
I didn't see a preview for that.
Yeah, there's a preview for that one, and it looks kind of like Game of Thrones-esque, which is interesting.
All right. I never watched that show.
Sorry, I'm just. Hey, if anybody out there needs to win bar trivia and has somebody with obscure knowledge, and you hit that final question, give me a call. I got you. There's a reason I watch Jeopardy every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. You know, I stay up. I stay hip.
Do you actually like sit there with a pen? Like,
I don't. But my goal is to, like, if I'm sitting with my family, we will compete and make kind of a game of it, and sit there. And if I get something wrong, I'll yell an expletive, or something like that. So.
I used to do this thing just to drive my wife nuts, which I could write a whole book on things I've done to drive my wife nuts.
We can ask ChatGPT to write that book.
Yeah, we could. But one thing I used to do is sometimes we'd watch Wheel of Fortune. And you know, when they'd spin the wheel and the audience would clap with the wheel. And yes, and I would clap along at home when the wheel was spinning, and I'd clap along, and then when the wheel would stop, I'd stop clapping. and then like, okay, Steve, spin the wheel.
Did you make the reactions too when they hit like bankrupt or lose a turn or something like that? Oh.
Or you see it slowing on lose a turn, like, yeah,
all right, yeah,
600, yeah. 600.
Yeah, I'll take T. There are no T's. Ah.
And then I always love the clips that will pop up, and yeah, there was one from the bonus puzzle at the end, and it had like all but like one letter. And Pat Sajak made this like snarky remark, like, "Well, it looks like we're gonna open this up and you're gonna win this prize." And then they didn't get it.
Oh my god! You know what's a real fun rabbit hole to go down to is on the TikTok algorithm is finding Steve Harvey clips, and they ask them like, "We surveyed 100 people, name something like this," and then somebody says totally something out of pocket. That's just. The only examples I can think of would get us canceled right now, so I'm not gonna mention.
So this one it was 2 words. It was MAG blank C. The second one was blank AND. And he was like, magic hand.
Oh my god.
And then they cuts and like Pat Sajak was speechless. He's just like, well, and then the guy got it like right after the buzzer where he just like, yeah, I did one of those, like dropped to the ground.
There was a woman I was watching a week or two ago. She was solving the puzzle 3 letters in, and I'm sitting there going, did you get a copy? Did you get an advanced copy of the themes beforehand, or the toss-up one? She was killing the toss-up ones 2 letters in. I'm like, are you a savant? What are you doing?
I think there's cheating. Well, there was also,
ma'am. We've had Deflategate. We've had sticky rosin on baseballs.
Well, are you getting tipped off? There was the guy in the 80s who figured out the what was that game show? The Whammies, the No Whammies guy. Remember that show? Pressure Luck.
Ooh. Yeah.
So it was just like a light board, and this guy figured out the light board pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on the show and knew the pattern, and he just kept he would count it down in his head, and he'd stop it, and he'd start clapping before like it even like said what it was, and he's like, no whammies, $500, and like the producers are like, I think this guy figured out the pattern. And at the time, like people were winning maybe $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, and he's like well over $100,000 in prizes.
Well, was it Ken Jennings or James Holzhauer that blew up Jeopardy, right? Because everybody used to go in like, I'll take this for 100, this for 200. But
Oh, and then
then
I
like
start skipping
they
around.
started going like, I'll take this for 1,000, like right off the rip. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a daily double. Like, oh, okay. We
James,
probably
I'm
should
sorry.
talk about sports
Yeah,
because that's
James.
what people come here for.
Well, and what else we've been doing. So anyway, now that
We got a lot. We got a lot cooking.
we do. So you started a Substack randomly.
Yeah, like I was telling you off air, I got a random idea on a Saturday,
Yes.
and I just kind of ran with it, as one does.
You just
And
texted me. You texted me, I think I'm starting a Substack. I'm like, all right. And then
all
like
right,
half an hour later, there's the link. Like
you're like, boom, done. He did it.
he really did it.
Um, yeah. So I realized that I kind of miss writing. For those that have been around for a long time, they know that my killer dog is just
The Cujo.
being ridiculous. She'll get over it. I'll let her go. It's kind of like a kid. It's like a kid. I'm realizing you need to let it just kind of get its, get it out of its system. But anyway, for those that have been around for a while, you've known me as a writer, you've known me as a multimedia journalist, a photographer, but if you just kind of come around in the loop, I've only really been a photographer. So I've done, sports, I do government things, I do um, really anything. But the one thing I realized as I travel around my area, I'm local to Columbus, Ohio, again for new folks out here.
Ohio, Ohio,
It's
Ohio.
Ohio, Ohio, Cleveland rocks.
See, you can
Shout out
tell
Drew
somebody.
Carey show.
Yeah, about to say you
Shout
can tell
out
somebody's from Ohio when you do that, and they know exactly what you're doing.
Shout out Drew Carey Show, one of the best sitcoms, if not one of the most underrated sitcoms of the 90s.
And
But anyway,
it will never be fully released because of the music rights, all the
yeah.
licensed music rights. They only ever released like season one.
Yeah, I bought a box set on I'm really glad you mentioned that because I was wondering about that. I bought a box set on iTunes and like it sporadically stuff is like not there. Um, but anyway, so it dawned on me as I kind of travel around the state because my job takes me around the state. I work with a lot of really cool people who have stories to tell, namely semi pro athletes. I work with women's athletes predominantly too. And the big thing is, I believe, is if you look at my title page on my website, I say everybody's got a story to tell. And one of the big things too, I think, is working with semi-pro athletes is not only are they competing on the weekends, but they're training. They're going to work though. They're working their 9 to 5s and then willingly saying, I'm going to hit the gym for an hour. I'm going to hit the pitch for an hour. I'm going to go travel and practice for an hour and a half. So many of those stories are going untold. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to shine a light on the great people that might be your neighbors. They might be friends. They might be colleagues. And I still don't know where we're going to go with the Substack, but it's very much kind of going to be a grow with me kind of deal, kind of if something works, if something doesn't work. So if you're into Central Ohio sports, because I know we're a nationwide, sometimes worldwide audience. So if the random listener who is in Indonesia decides that they want to follow Columbus, Ohio sports, come on over to Arch City Athletics on Substack.
There you go.
I still have to figure out how to fix my Substack link because it's got my first and last name on there, .substack.com. But we'll get there. But yeah, it's just kind of it's a passion project at this point. I've got a lot of time to kind of do things now. I don't know where all this time came from because I used to be so busy during the school year where I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And now it seems like I've got a lot of time to do stuff. So, thus, Arch City Athletics is born. We'll see where it goes. It's on the social. So, Instagram is Arch City Athletics, Twitter, never calling it the other thing, Arch City ATH. Sounded like I swore there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Blue Sky, we're on the on where the
The
skies are
blue
blue,
sky.
and I'm gonna for our visual learners, we're gonna do like a butterfly thing.
I got
We're
the
on the blue
Napoleon
sky.
Dynamite, the Happy
Yes,
Hands Club.
And we're on Facebooks. No, we're kind of operating
You're on Instagram. I know
clandestine.
that. I get
We're
this
on
follow.
Instagram too.
Yeah, you tell me that you have a Substack, and then all of a sudden I get these Instagram followers, and I'm like, who's that? Like, ah,
Ah, there he is.
ah, there he
He
is.
works fast.
That was fast. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we got an introductory post, and I posted a interview with a coach I worked with yesterday who is from the area. One of the cool things about it is there's this club I work with, Delaware Rising, and if you know anything, Delaware, Ohio is kind of a rural area of Ohio, much less central Ohio. It's a growing area, but not really synonymous with high level soccer talent out of the area. Mostly you have to kind of come into the capital city or go around the outer belt, which is Interstate 270, to get what people consider elite talent. Well, a lot of these girls, guys, and gals out there go up to Delaware to play from rural areas. They're the stars of the rural teams, and they kick butt, man. They're awesome. They won 6-1. I was with the women's team yesterday. They won 6-1. They did really well. Just a real fun group to be around, real positive vibes. And as they say, the vibes are immaculate. So we love that. And you want to go somewhere that you're appreciated, not somewhere that feels like a chore. So they definitely do a nice job with what they run up at Delaware. And they, just professional all around. Full disclosure, in the interest of journalistic integrity, I help the women's team. I help run their media side, getting pictures out to them, getting interviews and things like that. So I might be a little biased, but I think in this instance of journalism, I'm telling you something that you might be missing out on that you might like. So there you go.
There you go.
That's my spiel. How'd I do? I kept it under 10 minutes.
It wasn't as long as our Lilo and Stitch review.
We never gave it. We never gave it.
There's a lot of like grassroots soccer I've noticed popping up all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And the USL has they got League One, League Two. They're gonna try to compete with MLS, and
I hope that works out. I really do.
Me too.
MLS is getting so big for its britches right now.
It's just like even some of the clubs on their top, the Championship USL are quietly, I think, not doing so hot. You basically have to have a committed owner who's okay bleeding money for a while, because these are not. I'm just kind of like I'm not an accountant, but like I'm thinking like, okay, you have a 7,000 seat stadium, you charge like $20 a ticket, and you play 15 games or something like that at home, and I'm just like, the economics do not add up. And I'm just like, this, you can't, unless you're like paying the players peanuts, which they might be.
They might be. I mean, it might be a situation where they're getting second jobs and stuff to supplement stuff during the off season. I know. I think some of the not WPSL. The help me. What's NWSL? There we go. Some of the entry level contracts that I saw when the league first got going. I want to say I saw were like $10,000 or $11,000 for a total season, which obviously
big
you can't.
Commitment too.
And what was? I feel like it was public, but like, what was Caitlin Clark's entry level rookie contract? She's only on like $75,000, right, or something like that.
$75,000. Like her NIL deal from college was worth more, like way more.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you see these levels of sports, I mean, women's sports too, like that's the big thing. One of the things I cover is the Professional Volleyball Federation, the PVF, and one of their selling points was that the women will have a livable wage and they won't have to play overseas anymore. And you see the PVF come in, and then there's another league that started. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they already have a better uniform deal, I think, with Adidas. Their television deal they've reached with ESPN Plus. Yep. They are doing things a little bit better than what the PVF are doing. Now the PVF has a more established infrastructure, but this league, and I'm sorry for those that play in it or affiliated with it, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. They're smart though, because they're in college towns, so they're getting players that have played for Austin, for example. Asia Asia O'Neal, daughter of Jermaine O'Neal, former basketball stud, Indiana Pacer, great too at one point, was the number one draft pick for the Columbus Fury, which is here with me in Columbus, often regarded as a generational talent, got an opportunity to go play for the Olympic team, left Columbus. They granted her release, and she comes back, and she's playing for the Austin team for this new league. And they're doing a nice job of marketing players that have grown up in the area, around the area. I haven't heard much about them in a while, but in fairness, I have my ear to the ground a little more for the PVF just because it's localized to me. But yeah, it looks like DJ's on the Google machine to try to figure it out.
You mentioned Jermaine O'Neal, and he was in the news. So Jermaine O'Neal, he's with the success of the Indiana Pacers in the playoffs right now. Jermaine O'Neal has been seen around there, and it didn't end well with his tenure in Indiana. He was he's a really good player. Maybe
was he involved in the Malice in the Palace too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of them suspended from that. He said that his last name is completely made up because he doesn't know his father and just took on the name O'Neal. But he said that his father fathered. He is one of 33 children that his father.
Holy smokes!
33 oh my goodness! Children.
Those are Will Chamberlain numbers.
His quote, "My crazy story. My last name's made up. That's not even my dad's name. And here's the wild part. I'm one of 33 kids." Unreal.
That's expensive. That's an expensive holiday season.
2 kids are expensive.
Especially when you think about especially nice to know my dog's still out in the living room. Anyway, that's interesting then, because that's just confession time. I thought him and Shaquille O'Neal were related. I thought they were like father-son situation. I'm like, oh, O'Neal, nobody's got this last name, but so it's interesting because you think about these wages, and you talk about, like, for some reason, you being a Midwestern guy, you and I think about it this way. Indy 11, I know, made a hard push for a while to try to go to MLS, and they have a committed owner. They have, I think some of the capital, but I think they got shafted by MLS for, I think it was San Diego. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But
San Antonio also getting the shaft. They don't want Phoenix because they wanted them to play in a enclosed building, and
that's hilarious to me because you have teams like Orlando running around in 97% humidity.
Yeah,
you have Austin running around
Houston,
in Texas.
Dallas. Yeah, those areas are pretty miserable. And
most of your games are going to be played at 7:00 local time anyway, and the sun's going to be down more than likely. So it's no different than Florida, because I remember when I had a lacrosse camp in Florida that we were training at, we trained early in the morning. We would hide while the sun was baking the rest of the state of Florida. And then we would go back and train at night, because at 7:00 at night. And you know what? It was magnificent.
Yeah.
Because it was 70
Miami
degrees.
And outdoors too. Lionel Messi FC.
Oh, don't get me started. Oh, I think the crew forgot to get off the bus in that game.
I saw your post about that, and I looked it up to see how bad it was, and it was bad. They subbed. I don't know why I didn't look in, but Miami subbed out their goalie in the first half. And I don't know if it was an injury or if it was just because it was so lopsided or what. But the backup goalie is there on loan from a club in Central America. So his name's Rocco Rios Novo. And he was Phoenix Rising's goalie when they won the USL title a few years ago.
What a dude.
So Rocco, shout out to Rocco. Good to see him playing in some MLS behind the GOAT. And I said it. Yeah.
What's Eric Dick doing nowadays? And I didn't swear because that's actually his name.
Good question. He played in Phoenix.
Dick was a crew player for a hot minute. I was very excited about that.
Riverhounds.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, he played. He was on loan in 2020 with in Phoenix, and I remember him. Uh,
What was the guy in front of him? Was it Bent? I forget. It was some. Wasn't it like
Lubin, Zach Lubin.
Lubin? Yes, 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 yes.
So yes,
Lubin Dick.
your goalie was Lubin Dick. Yeah, that
The goalkeeping battery was
yes.
Lubin Dick.
The jokes were non-stop. I wonder what Zach Lubin's
God.
up to now.
But yeah, I mean, I think I hope it
Making out of
works.
soccer.
I just want like I want something comparable to England. I want the little teams to be successful. I want the Wrexham story. I want like a team to
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Richmond Kickers. Let's go Richmond Kickers. You know, like established team that's been around for a while, maybe on bad times, hard times, whatnot. Are they still around too? I don't know why in my head I just thought they lapsed, but like get those teams promoted up there, get them in there, and even if they get their butts kicked in MLS or at the top level of USL or whatever, they're there. They're getting money. Let's get some money in there, some advertising revenue.
Yeah.
I think that there is a big thing, and DJ, you can stop me from this tirade at any time.
No, I'm just gonna say
I think there's a missed opportunity for Major League Soccer because they're so in bed with Apple, and I love Apple. I'm in the Apple ecosystem. I have an iPhone. I'm on a Mac right now. Like I'm in the ecosystem, man. But I think the TV deal with MLS Season Pass is so strange because you can't easily access it at a bar without your streaming package. You can't like
yeah,
it's very configured to millennials. It's not configured for the average viewer, and that's what MLS needs right now.
and you have 50% of the population that refuse to touch an Apple phone, and it's like,
Yeah,
sorry,
it's almost political. I mean, I think you have certain folks that believe in using one device and others that won't touch, like you said, touch the Apple phone. I don't know. Maybe I'm making generalizations, but
one sec.
oh yeah. Well, now guys, you're sitting down with Papa Ralph here. His DJ is now scurrying out, tripping over his dog. Looks like there's a note that has been slipped under his door, and now he has a bag of what I believe is crack cocaine. There's crack cocaine on his desk right now. It is oh, are
It's a
those?
peep.
It's a oh.
Yeah, my kid's like,
That
here,
looks like
take
it
this
hasn't
peep.
been through a doesn't look like it's gone through a peep war though. Those peep wars are always fun. Did you ever do those as a kid?
I did not.
So, are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Might be a Midwestern thing.
I was a Midwesterner
So,
for 30
I
years.
know. So, there was around Easter time, my mom was super into this. We would get the yellow peeps. You get a toothpick in one, and you put a toothpick in the other, and you microwave them. And the first peep to stab the other peep wins. But
I've never heard of this.
while they microwave, they expand and get really big. So it's a win-win because you have a giant cooked marshmallow,
Oh man.
and it's just a hilarious visual too.
Oh man. I part of me wants to try this now. But going back to the whole like television package deal with Android phones still having a huge stranglehold on the market. People are like, I'm not subscribing to Apple just to watch MLS. Like you're turning away a huge chunk of fans. But on the other hand, like look at Amazon Prime Video for example. So NASCAR just had their first broadcast at the Coca-Cola 600 on Amazon Prime. One, it was phenomenal. Two, a lot of people have access to Amazon Prime because a lot of people have Amazon Prime. So you have
Mm-hmm.
access to it. Whether you use it or not is a different story. The other interesting demographic from the first race is they had a pretty decent increase in 18 to 49-year-olds watching, but
Oh wow.
they lost like I think it was like they lost for every one 18 to 49 they gained, they lost four under 55.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
like you have to expect that at this point. It's like going to the you go to the over 55 community and many of them are still like they can work their way around, but you go to somebody who's in their 60s or 70s, lifelong NASCAR fans, and say, here, load Amazon Prime Video on your smart TV if you even own a smart TV. Like it's kind of an ask, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's an ask, and I think to my mother, and I love her to death, and I hope she never sees this when I say this, but I'm her tech support. Like she
yeah,
calls me and she's like, how do I watch Your Honor? And I'm like, what streaming service is it on? She goes, I don't know, it's on this one. I'm like, all right, so then I gotta go, oh, it's on Paramount Plus. We don't have Paramount Plus, sorry. Well, what do we gotta do to get Paramount Plus? I'm like, whatever it costs a month or whatever. So it's then we have the conversation of, do you want to get rid of Peacock? Do you want to get rid of this? Because I'm not paying for all of this. Because at
are you
that
sure
point, we're better.
are you sure this conversation's not the other way around? That sounds more like a parent talking to a kid versus
And the funny part I've realized, DJ, as I've gotten older, is the conversations have reversed, especially since like she hangs out with her boyfriend and they're out at like midnight while I am like
you're sitting there in your
caring for my
bathrobe
dog. And
on the recliner on the front door like this.
yeah, it's funny because I
Where were
set like a
you?
curfew. I set a curfew for them, and I'm like, I'll have her home back by 11.
It is 2 a.m. right now.
Well, while I was waiting for my house to come available, I was living with them, and it'd be like, they'd go to a concert, and I've got to get up for work at like 5:30 in the morning, and they'd come rolling in at 1 o'clock making chicken wings and like, I'm like, I'm not kidding you, dude. Like I would hear the microwave, and I would hear beep 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 boop, and then I hear this like like snickering in the and then I just hear like they
Got
get the bone-in
flashbacks.
chicken wings. They get the bone-in chicken wings, and I hear it. I'm like, it's like I'm in college all over again.
It's like college roommates. Oh man.
Oh, it was hilarious.
It's funny too. Like even my wife trying to get Hulu on is a bit of a challenge, and she's like, "Why can't I just turn on the TV and watch what I want?" I'm like, you
Oh yeah.
can. It's called pay $200 a month for cable.
Well, what's funny is I'm at a spot now where we've got my dad paid for YouTube TV through the end of the year, and if anybody knows my story, my dad is no longer with us, so it's through the end of the year, and I'm shopping around for cable plans, and I've signed a deal in blood with Spectrum for my internet, and DJ's grimacing over there. I've signed a deal in blood with Spectrum, and while the product is pretty great, especially with what I've got with the internet, I know the price will go up, and I'll have to play the song and dance with them once a year. But then I started looking, I'm like, you know what? Like, what's basic cable cost? Like, if basic cable even exists anymore.
It does. But like that's why they're doing this to the internet and putting all these restrictions and bundling, because their customer base is dying out.
Yeah.
Like I
I'm just
forget
kind of,
what the average. I
I,
mean, do you know anybody under the age of 40 who has cable that doesn't live with an older person?
no, I mean, even everybody I know is either Hulu with live TV, YouTube TV. Sling, I think, completely died. I don't even think Sling's a thing
I
anymore.
don't think it is either. I haven't heard that in a while.
I haven't heard anybody talk about. I do hear advertisements for something called like Playa or Phonos. I can't think of the name of it. Oh well, I don't want to give them a free commercial anyway.
They're not paying
Um,
for. Yeah, you got to pay for your
so
spot on this, but
so
uh,
that one's like $25.99, I think, or something like that. But it's got like next to nothing on there, so it'd be like no ESPN.
yeah, most of these services they're like you can watch TV for free. You just have to buy this device. It's like it's an antenna. I
The
mean,
DTV, I remember the DTV antennas. Those
I
when
still
we
have
converted over.
I have an antenna because if the internet goes out, I have this device that I'm not plugging them either, but this device I plug it into my router and I hook an antenna up to it, and then there's an app on my Apple TV. I can watch antenna TV on any TV. I don't have to worry about antennas.
We might have to talk about that off air because I might need to look into. I might need to look into that.
There's a couple companies out there now that do that, and they have like DVR services. You can, like the one I have, you just hook a USB hard drive up to it, and you got a DVR
Ooh,
for it.
I love Apple TV. What a great
It
device!
is a great device. That's what I have on all my TVs. So the average age of a cable subscriber in the US now, as of this year, is 64.6 years old. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
64.6. And the thing too that they're pulling a few years ago, I knew what this was going to happen. My internet provider said, "Oh, by the way, we're adding bandwidth caps. But don't worry, only like 3% of our customers hit, they give you like a terabyte a month."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Don't worry, only 3% of our customers hit that cap right now." And I'm like, this is like Hulu is just becoming a thing at this point when they
Mm-hmm.
implemented this. I'm like, I know what you're doing. You right now, yes, but then when streaming is bigger and more popular and more mainstream, everyone's going to be going over their bandwidth caps.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. And then what they do is after you go over your terabyte a month, and if you have children and they're watching TV, you're going over that cap. Like there's no way around it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take very long. Like I'll get like I was getting 50% alerts 6 days into the month. And my kids don't watch that much TV. Like if you 4K stream, you're going to hit that very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, what they would do is like, okay, once you hit your limit, we will charge you $10 for every 50 gigabytes you go over, a maximum of $50. I'm like, all right, whatever. And like, oh, you could go to the unlimited package, the unlimited data package for another $50 a month. So 2 months ago, I get my bill, and my bill is $100 higher than the base price because they sneaky changed it that no longer $50 the cap, it's $100 a cap now. And I'm like, okay, well then I'm just gonna pay for your stupid $50 a month unlimited, which is what they wanted in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, all right, now I'm saving $50. But it's like between working from home and all this media crap that I do, and my kids watching TV and using streaming instead of regular cable, like you can't keep your usage under a terabyte. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It is impossible.
No, I get that. And that's kind of I was running with the T-Mobile home internet, and I think you and I did a couple shows, and I kept crashing out. I'm
Yeah,
like, this ain't gonna work, dude.
it's a nice idea in theory, but it's like just like your cell phone. If you don't have great signal in your home, you're not gonna have great signal with that. And
And my new place is it's not rural, but it's in a spot where a lot of new construction's happening and stuff, and they just don't have
no
the
cell towers
infrastructure
yet.
out there for it yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
it's not I'm not off the grid, but
you're on the edge
I'm
of the
I'm
grid.
I'm comfortable. Intel's a stone's throw away from me though. The new Intel plant that'll be
Mm,
terrible whenever that opens up. It
yeah.
got delayed. It got delayed.
We have a huge Intel plant down here, and then Taiwan Semiconductor Corporation built on the north
Mm,
side because it's like, where's the best place to build semiconductor chips? Where it's hot and dry. Where's it hot and dry? Right here in Phoenix. It's
but it's hot and wet here. I don't know why they do
yeah,
that.
that's kind of well, I mean, there's a lot of different divisions of the company, but it's Intel has a huge presence around us right now, and yeah. Anyway,
Anywho's,
uh,
let's
on
move on. We've talked too much
on the
about.
topic of internet, we we hyped at the beginning of the year that we were going to start doing Rocket League events, and work's been going on behind the scenes. It's been quiet except to a very small group of individuals. And in May, we ran a pilot tournament, which Ralph, you participated in. I participated. You kicked my
Yes.
butt,
Sorry.
which was to be expected. And we ran a pilot 8 team tournament, and just to we actually recorded a broadcast just to kind of work the kinks out of it. We figured out there's a few things we need to change with like the queuing and some of the tournament management software, need to figure out a little bit better, but I think we're probably good to go for July is our plan for our first tournament.
Yeah, I mean, from a participation standpoint, I thank you, DJ, for having me out there. As I told you when we started, I hadn't played probably a competitive game in 5, 6 years, maybe. So it was really a great experience from a player perspective. Super easy to get into. Just I have nothing but good things to say. I know there were some things that happened behind the scenes, and I'm not saying that it was a pure dumpster fire
No, it was just some
behind the scenes. I
it was
know
logistical stuff that we had to
it
work
was
out.
more of a it was a good here's how we take it to great
Yeah, it
situation.
was a pilot.
So,
Like it was not going to be perfect. We knew that going in.
but for anybody thinking about participating in it, I think I definitely scratched the itch I had for esports again, and I've always been kind of a weird. I've had a weird love-hate relationship with esports because I've always kind of saw it as, oh, it's not a real thing, like da 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 da. But the competitive juices came out for that and got flowing, and I'm like, oh, this rules, man. Like for a single bachelor like myself, it was really a cool experience to come in on a Saturday, hang out with some like-minded folks and play around. Even though I think I ended up, what was it, the captain of the Hofstra esports team
Yeah.
sent me packing, and
It,
incredible incredible timing during my match. But it was really humbling. But just to come in and play around and have some fun, it's really going to be a good thing. And I think when we get this off the ground, I think you guys are really going to like it, especially when we get some programming established with it. And
it,
it's more of a thing.
we've been doing the iRacing streaming for three 3+ years now, and it's
Has it been
going.
that long already?
Yeah, it's been going incredibly well. The Wednesday night series has been going since March of 2022. So yeah, over 3 years. We added the second series last year. So we added a second series. We were going to do an IndyCar series, but then there was the licensing issues that we couldn't stream it, and then the licensing issues got resolved. So we've done a couple seasons of that. We do a monthly race, like endurance race or prep for an endurance race on Friday nights. We revamped that this year. We got the next one coming up here in a couple weeks on the 13th at Watkins Glen. And then we actually have a fourth league launching at the end of June on every other Monday night. Again, it's at 10 p.m. Eastern using it's more of a development series. It's just, if you go into the official sessions in iRacing, the racecraft is pretty bad because people just kind of come in and think, oh, this is like NASCAR Heat. And they think it's like an arcade, but it's like, no, you actually have to like work and train at this. And there's actually like real physics. And you actually have to like take into account tire wear and weather conditions. And it's a lot harder, but people think they can just like cruise in here and then they just flame out and give up. And it's kind of there's a high barrier to entry to get into iRacing because one, you have to have the gaming PC. Two, you have to have the wheel and pedal set, which is another cost. And you can invest as little as $150 for a refurbished like G920, or you can spend thousands on it if you want. Gotta have the iRacing subscription. You gotta pay for the cars, the tracks. So, yeah, there's a lot of money to get into it, and you can end up dumping a lot if you're not careful or you're not methodical with your purchasing.
Just buy a real race car at that point.
Yeah, like I see people like, oh, I spent $30,000 on my sim rig. Like you could have bought you could have bought like a go kart and like 2 years worth of entry fees and parts for
See,
$30,000.
See what I like about this, though, and I'm going to speak as the everyman here for a second. You talk about these leagues with, every other Monday or, doing something like that. It's perfect. It's perfect because it's, if you're like me, I work a job that I have to be up early in the morning and I get off early enough in the day. But for for me to leave and go somewhere at like 7:30 at night, like a bowling league. Let's say a bowling league, right? And I don't play until 8:30 at night. It's a big to do. Like I've
It
got
is.
to get my dog all situated. I've got to get, her figured out, her fed, peed, pooped, all that stuff. Then I got to drive to the venue, do whatever I got to do, come back. Then I got to go to bed. Then, I wake up, I'm kind of groggy in the morning because it's like, man, it was a late night, where something like this, you're doing from the comfort of your home. You don't have to, it's not a massive time commitment. You can do it in whatever you want to wear. We do ask that you wear clothes though.
Yeah.
It's pretty imperative.
Not something I've ever had to discuss, and I prefer not to. I mean,
I see, I'm covering it for you. So
yeah,
we ask that you wear clothes, but you can be comfortable. You can be in your own home around your own stuff, and just kind of enjoy the experience with like-minded people who love racing as much as you do.
yep. And you're done. You shut it down. You go shower, and you go right to bed. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
baby.
could do that if you
That's
want.
the dream. You can
And
do a post game interview if you want, but you
yeah,
usually
yeah,
got to win or do something like that.
yeah.
Or you can do one yourself for like your social media channels and like, what do I do with my hands?
Okay,
What
if
do,
you could
what do I
probably
do?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
We've had really good turnout. We've got like it's just watching, the first couple of ones we had, it was just the people that were involved or their family or friends, like, oh, 8 people watched our stream. Cool. Now
See,
it's,
see, that's still pretty cool though.
yeah, right. But now it's like we're well over hundreds, well over 100 people are watching the stream and catching the replays and sticking around longer through the process. And
Do you ever think about how cool that is though? Like you have 100 people with a heartbeat sitting down watching something you're doing. Like
yeah.
that's
Oh, I know it.
even if it's 8, that's cool. Like, or I think about it in terms of like a classroom. Like a classroom of people have watched me do something. Like that's pretty neat.
It the most mind blowing part of all of this is for this show we record like 2 shows a year now,
Yeah, baby. We're
and
real efficient around here.
yeah, well, in 2020 2021 somewhere around there, we moved over to Spotify to host. I was self-hosting before, but there were a lot of issues with that, and it made more sense, and I moved it over to Spotify because you got better analytics out of the deal, and it was free, and we qualified for the ad program, so we're making money off of this, which is cool. The lifetime listeners since we moved in 2021, considering the fact that in let's see, we did a new year episode, we did a mid-year review, which was in like October. Yeah, so since 12/31/2023, we've recorded 3 episodes. This is the 4th. And before that, from 2022 back to 2020 at the start of COVID, I mean, we were recording a lot. Like, there's 120 some episodes now.
Notable guests too. It's
Yes,
almost like
notable
people didn't
guests
have
too.
anything
Which
to
I
do.
met Chris Myers finally. I interviewed him and I finally met him at Phoenix, and it's really cool when you're walking up to the media center and he comes walking out the door and he sees you. He's like, "Hey, like I know that guy. I know that guy. He waved to me."
We're cool.
So since we moved to Spotify in 2021, I don't remember when exactly, the listener count for this show is 26,088 listens.
That's
On,
like
on
a
just
couple
in
sports stadiums.
just podcast format. Like that's Apple, that's Spotify, all those other ones. 26
Stitcher.
20. Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Stitcher's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep. I think Sirius XM bought like all the pieces of it and then shut it down.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
26,000 listens of these shows in a podcast format. I'm like, and if we did more of the episodes, I only imagine what those numbers would look like. The fact we have 2 episodes a year and we've made now 4, and we have 26,000 listens still, and we still have people catching this who are coming in and discovering it for the first time. It's like maybe we should make more episodes than just 2 a year.
Be like, turn around, don't make this mistake.
Nah, I just like.
All right,
I mean,
so
my other show is like I do that every week, and I've done. We do. I forget how many episodes we're on. I think we're on 135 as of last week.
So that would be I just out of curiosity, I asked our friend Chat GPT about some stuff. I asked him about 26,000 seat stadiums, and it just gave me large stadiums. But the biggest one that jumps out to me is AT&T Stadium seats 80,000 people in Arlington, Texas, home of the. How about them Cowboys? So that would be like 3 and third
almost
AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, almost 1/3.
Like we can almost a third. We could fill a third of AT&T Stadium. That's pretty cool.
You more than fill every NBA or NHL arena. I think United Center I think is the biggest.
Yeah, I think nationwide is 16 or 18,000, something like that.
I think United Center is 21.
This is great radio.
Yeah,
the visual people too. Just
23,500.
Okay, so we could fill it. We could sell out. Holy crap! We could sell out the United Center.
We could sell out the United Center when we do this live. We expect you all to be there. We'll be like,
oh my god!
But unlike Disturbed, we won't set the Chicago Bulls banners on fire.
Ooh,
Did you see that? Did you hear that?
I did. I
Yeah.
forgot about it until you mentioned it.
Disturbed was doing a concert at United Center, and their stage was set up right underneath the Bulls banners, and some of the banners got lit on fire.
Can you imagine too, like that you dash the MJ banner or like one of the three-peat banners, like you're just that would be tough. But we've got some exciting stuff happening, and it's really a cool time to be part of the whole situation. So we're having a good time. I'm vamping right now. DJ's talking to a mysterious, non-existent person there. I've said he needs to commit himself to a institution, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So I think we probably should go ahead and wrap this anyway, but it's always fun sitting down with you, sharing what's new in our world. But we'll
oh my gosh, what's the next big blockbuster that we could review when we have our October meeting?
F1.
Oh, are you gonna go see that?
Yes.
On IMAX? Because they said it was shot in IMAX. Like specifically for IMAX.
Yeah, I don't want to drive over there. It's not a great area. Yeah, we'll let you know. I mean, it looks like a much better filmed version of the movie Driven is the vibe I get from it.
Yeah, that's fair. But I agree. DJ, what's for dinner tonight before we go? I got to ask you, what's for dinner tonight?
I have no idea. I haven't. I got to figure that out.
I got bratwurst. I'm going to grill up some stadium brats today, I think. He's Googling. ChatGPT, what should I have for dinner
I'm being
tonight?
heckled outside my door being told to wrap it up. So,
is it our producer or is it the head boss?
Yes.
It's the head boss?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. We got to go before we get in trouble.
Otherwise,
stadium scene might not exist if we don't get
I might not exist. So, yeah.
Everything we talked about might not be a thing anymore.
So, be sure to tune in. All kinds of content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate you tuning in as always.
We'll see you on the flippity floppity.